All right, welcome to Beyond the Fundamentals. We are live, and today I will be talking with my son. Every once in a while, my son has theological questions that he asks, and I'm going to try to approach these questions with a certain mindset. Not a mindset that provides answers, but a mindset that recognizes that a young mind might be able to show me things that I have overlooked. And so that's what I'm going to be looking for. I have seen the questions, but I've not attempted to answer them. And I think there might be one or two that I haven't seen. So we are going to get at this. And I see a lot of people in the chat here. Even Paul is in there. And for those of you who want to know Shaun's handle, well, I'll tell you all that in a second. But so, welcome aboard, Shaun. It's good to see you.
It's good to see you too.
Is this your first appearance on the channel? I think we've made videos together, but I don't think that we've come on the channel together before.
Yeah.
So this is the first time.
I mean, you've been on my channel before.
I've been on your channel.
Yeah, you have.
What were we doing? Playing Fortnite?
Yeah, we were playing Fortnite.
What else? Is that it? Just play Fortnite on your channel?
I think that's... Yeah, I think you, like, 3 videos you were, like, playing Fortnite, and only people only heard your voice. And if anybody here has ever watched me,
So,
him.
How many subscribers do you have?
I have 87 right now.
So Shaun's trying to get a few more subscribers. Let me see.
I'm trying to hit 100.
He's trying to hit 100 subscribers. If you want to check him out on YouTube, Shaun is also an aspiring YouTuber, and his handle is burnoff12, as it is displayed on the screen right there. If you want to check out burnoff12 and subscribe to his channel, there's a lot of creativity going on over there.
Yeah, don't acknowledge the weird logo.
Don't what do?
The weird logo.
That's a strange logo.
I like the logo.
But you drew that, right?
I drew that like 2 years ago.
Yeah, you drew that 2 years ago. 2 years ago?
Yeah.
So you don't think, like, you don't want to update it?
No, I'm not going to update it. Well, I mean, I thought about if I am going to update it, I'm going to have to think about it. Like, there's a couple images that I have made that I was thinking about updating. It's more like, it's not like that kind of funny, but it's like more, it's funnier, kind of.
Funnier?
Yeah, if I'm going to change it, I'm going to have to think on it.
You have to think on it. So
Yeah.
you got any things in the works right now?
So like, so it's just like saying, are you going to update your logo?
Yeah, I'm going to update my logo.
When?
On October 2nd, 2025.
Wow.
I'll have it all planned out. So, you have some questions.
Yeah, I do. On theology.
On theology. And I haven't really... when did I see these? Did I see these last night or the night before?
Last night.
Last night?
Last night.
All right. So, how do you want to do this?
I'll just like tell you I don't know how I want to do this. I think I'll just like tell you the questions.
Yeah.
And yeah, so what proof is there of God, Jesus right now at this moment? Like, what evidence is there? Where can you go and do that besides the Bible?
So what kind of evidence are you looking for?
I'm looking for proof.
Like physical evidence? Are you looking for interactive evidence? Like
like
prayers answered, or...
Is there any type of evidence? What type of evidence is there? Like,
okay.
What type of real life stuff is there? Where can you go that there has been stuff done there? And where can you go to where you see stuff that he has had or that has been had?
So you want like physical, tangible evidence?
Yes.
Let me ask you a question. What would that do for you?
It would just be a sign of proof.
And why? What proof would that be?
The proof of Jesus and God and all that.
And what does that do for you when you have the proof? What is it?
That's a good question. I don't know.
So let me ask you this question: have you ever watched a TV show, cartoon, whatever, that is completely giving you an idea of how to live or how to behave?
If there's a like, no TV show can, like, it can tell me, like the little things as a kid, like, don't do this and don't be bad and all that, but, like, the TV show's not going to tell me how to live my life.
Have you ever seen a hero that has in a show that has inspired you to be like that hero?
Like, when I was young, like, you know how
When
I
you were
always,
young,
like,
like way back when, huh?
like 5 or 4 years old.
How old are you now, by the way?
Now, like,
How old are you now?
I'm trying to be the same,
No, I'm asking you how old you are, so
Oh,
everybody.
I'm 10 right now,
Okay.
like 4 and 4 and 5 and 3, all that.
And you'll be 11 in November.
I wanted it to be like, drop my list.
You can pick it up. You
Yeah.
can go pick it up. Want me?
It's
There
fun.
you go. No more. I'm not going to take any pictures of your coin slot this time.
What? Hey, I got paid back from that at least
That's
today.
true. You did. You did. So, all right. So,
yeah, I was like so inspired. I'm like Batman. I'm like,
okay, that's a good one. That's a good one.
I'm like, oh my gosh, I want to be Batman. And I'm like acting like him. I got all my action figures and all that. I got mini figures. We went like all that, and now I'm like, what's the purpose in just wanting to be like a fictional character?
So that's just it. Isn't there something from the character that speaks to real life in some way?
Yeah.
But you never. Did you ever think Batman was real?
Well,
I mean,
like,
did
I
you ever
was
think Batman
young
was a
and
real thing?
I'm like, Batman's totally a real thing. Like, no person. Like, once I got older and like went into school and all that, I'm like, oh my gosh, my face is alive.
So did you ever ask for any proof of Batman?
Well, no, I didn't, cause my brain was too simple-minded. And
Was it?
I'm like, Batman's real.
So, do you think it's possible to be inspired by something without necessarily having physical proof of it?
I think that can happen in some cases. Like Jesus and all that. Some stories inspire me to do more in there. Like, do more in my life and what I can do to help myself.
Mm-hmm.
And make me a better the better person that I am. So, sorry. I'm trying to. So you know how like in video games and all that, you have to like you level up and you get to a certain skin and all that.
Mm-hmm.
I'm trying to level up me in education and the Christianity and everything. I'm just trying to build myself into a new stage of like, I don't know, like, it's hard, just like a new stage.
Okay. So there's here's my problem with this. I have a problem with your question. The problem that I have is this. I have a bunch of books on the bookshelf over there.
You do?
Yes. I mean, you can see them. They're right behind us. Look at the background. A bunch of books on the bookshelf that talk about the evidence for a creator, the evidence for God. They lay it all out, and they're really lining up the evidence that shows that stories in the Bible historically took place. Does that make sense? The problem that I have with that is that the people who are blowing that horn the loudest aren't any different than people who are unaffected by it. They're not any more moral. They're not any more ethical. They're not any less backstabby. They're not any less hypocritical. They're not better people. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So I could do it. Like, I have some books here. There's a book, I don't have it in my hands here, but I do have a book called The Verdict of History. I think it's by Habermas, which covers a lot of different evidence, contemporary and almost contemporary evidence of the existence of Jesus Christ. You're going to have to hold on to that.
Yeah.
And here's a book right here. It's called Case for a Creator, okay?
Case for a Creator.
That's Lee Strobel. He also wrote a book called The Case for Christ. And there's lots of evidence. There's lots of evidence that corroborates, and there's all in all kinds of books. There's lots of evidence that corroborates the historicity of the man, Jesus of Nazareth. There's lots of evidence that corroborates the stories that we find in Scripture. The problem is that the people who tout about that evidence the most don't demonstrate transformed lives any more than the people who don't. And that's what concerns me. Like maybe we have been, I don't know how familiar you are with history, with the Reformation. It seemed to, about 500 years ago or so, people seemed to be turned toward the collection of data rather than the prompting to transform.
Yeah. So, I get what you're saying.
So I think that it's a good line of questioning, and there's some books that I could give you, and there's books that detail the evidence that lines up with Scripture, and you can even actually, there's people who've been on the Joe Rogan podcast that have talked about evidence of a global flood and all this kind of stuff. So the evidence is out there. My thing, though, is that being oriented only toward that does not necessarily afford the person the transformation that is available in Christ. So, outside we have a basketball goal, right? If I were to tell you to try to be the best basketball player you could be, would you get out there and practice, or would you demand proof that Michael Jordan and LeBron James were real human beings?
I mean, I already know they're real human beings.
How do you know that? You ever seen them? You've only seen digital representations of them. You ever shaken their hand? You ever seen them in real life?
Have you ever shaken their hand?
I have seen Michael Jordan in real life.
Damn. Okay. But I being better at basketball has nothing to do with wanting to know if Jordan or like Michael Jordan, Michael Jordan or LeBron James or Kevin Durant are real at all.
Durant, yep.
Kevin Durant are real at all. Like, I would get out there, kick myself out of the house, and start practicing.
Okay. So.
But really, if someone just told me to get better at the game, and so at basketball, that's like a thing that I wouldn't dedicate my whole entire day to, because I have other things that I want to practice too that I might that I want to do more, but I save some time for basketball later.
So yeah, whatever that is,
Yeah.
what's the what's the other thing that you want to do?
The other thing I want to do, play different sport, like a baseball or football.
Okay, who does that well? Who plays football well?
Football well, Tom Brady.
Okay, Tom Brady plays football well. So what do you do with that information? Do you demand proof of it, or do you... So let me ask you this. With the question, is there any evidence for God or evidence for Jesus? What are you hoping that an answer to that question will do for you? Okay, what is Shaun now? What is future Shaun with the best answer to that question? How is he different than Shaun now?
Say that again, please.
So, you asked a question about evidence for God and Jesus.
Yes.
That they exist, right?
Yeah.
So, look to the future. Look to 15-year-old Shaun. Okay?
Okay. See him.
15-year-old Shaun has all the answers to that question.
Answers. I'm still wondering.
Let's say, okay, let's forget 15-year-old. Let's say a week from now.
A week from now.
A week from now, future Shaun, a week from now, has all the answers to that question. How is he different than you?
Well, he has more. Well, he has like the future Shaun a week from now has more knowledge, on this specific
Okay.
thing, and I don't know that. So future week Shaun, old man Shaun over there,
Mm-hmm.
future week, he knows everything that he needs to know on the proof of God.
Okay, and what does that do for him?
Not really much.
Not really much.
Not much.
That's interesting. That's a very interesting answer. Does it make him any more capable of helping people?
The only thing it really answers for him is like what he's wondering. Because like,
Okay.
if I'm wondering that and then it doesn't help me at all, like, well, at least I got the answer.
Okay. So I mean, like, here we like to play in the pool. Does it make you a better swimmer?
Depends.
It
Like, depends. Like, what if I'm like laying down on a float with like laying down in a tube with only my feet in the water? I'm just like laying there like and all that. That doesn't make me a better swimmer, does it?
No, I'm saying, how does this knowledge?
Yeah. So
A week from now, now you have this information about the existence of God. Does it make you a better swimmer?
no, it's basically just like laying in a tube.
Okay, back at in Alabama, you helped your grandparents mow their yard, right?
Yes,
You got
yes.
$10 for that. Does it help you mow the yard better?
Yes.
It does.
Yes.
How does it help you mow the yard better?
Because I have experience now.
No. Does knowledge about God's existence help you mow the yard better?
No.
Does knowledge about God's existence help you in your spelling class?
No.
Does it help you love your sister better?
No. I mean, it does say love your enemies, so.
That's true. It does. It does. I hope you don't mean that your sisters are enemies.
How is it?
Hopefully we don't make you spit up again today.
We don't need to go back there.
That's kind of funny. Yesterday in the movie theater, we were watching Meg.
We were watching Meg 2.
We were watching Meg 2, and we saw we saw a little lizard get eaten by a bigger lizard, get eaten by a bigger lizard, get eaten by a bigger one, and finally it was a Tyrannosaurus Rex eating one, and then a big shark jumped out of the water and got the Tyrannosaurus Rex.
Baby shark.
So then you said,
Wow,
that's the fastest I've ever seen the food chain work. And then I said, yes, it's a fast food chain, just like McDonald's. At which point, Shaun spit his drink all over his sister.
We don't talk about bro.
That was funny. Okay, so my thing is, here's what I think.
What do you think?
I think that when you ask a question like that, when you get an answer, it makes you feel better. But it doesn't make people be any better.
It doesn't. It is for
You
me.
see?
For me, I have. It's like, it has to. If the answer is like not interesting or like it, so you have you ever found something interesting and then like the answer's not as nearly as interesting as the actual question?
Almost all the time.
Yeah. So that doesn't satisfy me. If I get an answer like, the Bible is that. That's not, like, millions of people out there, or even billions of people, or I don't know, but they have a Bible. It's remade King James version, and all that. That's proof. But like, who wrote it? Who?
Is that your next question?
No, that's, well, kind of, yes. Who wrote it? Who wrote the Bible, and how do people know that the version how do people know that the Bible that they're reading right now is truthful and almost in based off the stories? Because in the Bible it says that it makes the Bible, but
In the Bible it says what?
in the Bible it says like da 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 and Bible and all that. I don't know.
Well, the word Bible isn't in the Bible.
I know. Oh, I forgot. But like the Bible and all that. Who made the Bible? Here, answer that question.
That's a great question.
I know it's from different authors and all that. Who's the person that brought them all together?
The brung them all together? Where do you go to school?
Brought all the.
So who's the person that brought them all together?
Who's the person that brought them all together? I don't know. I'm asking you.
Okay. So, okay, this is another one. There are official answers to this question. So if you join any denomination, if you join the Catholic Church, they're going to say, well, they voted on it in 386 AD, which they did not. If you were to be in a Baptist church, they would say that the rules of use among all the local churches had been demonstrated for hundreds of years before 386 BC came to pass, in which the church historians like F.F. Bruce would agree with that.
Okay.
I have a book here. This is the Missing Books of the Bible, Volume 1 and 2. Okay? In Volume 1, let me ask, I don't know if you know this or not. So with Annalie and Elena, we raised them in church a little differently than how you've been raised, and they had all the books of the Bible memorized by the time they were like 6 or 7. I don't know if where do you have your books of the Bible? Do you know which all your books of the Bible are in order?
No, I don't really know a lot.
Okay.
I can't really remember. Once I read a book, I forget the whole entire book's name. Like I just remember the story really.
So let's just say that right now, today, every denomination has official answers on where the Bible came from. Those answers do not all match, and there is disagreement over whether or not the what's called the canon of Scripture. So I actually have my mother's Bible here, and people say, "Oh, your mother's Bible, cherish that thing." My mother's still alive, so it's not like she left me this and bequeathed me with it before. But I have my mother's Bible here, and this has 66 books of the Bible, okay? And that's been considered, the people who are not Catholic consider this to be a Bible. People who are Catholic have a few other books mixed into their, what we would call the Old Testament. So there's not 100% agreement over what should be in the Bible. But then of all the people who say that the Bible is true, there are well over 30,000 different denominations who all disagree on how to worship God, who all say the Bible is true.
Got it.
So, I could tell you the Old Testament was written by people like Moses edited the first 5 books of the Bible. Joshua also played a role in editing those. If you look at Deuteronomy and Joshua probably wrote Joshua. And then there were some chroniclers who aren't exactly named for Judges, 1st, 2nd Samuel, 1st, 2nd Kings, 1st, 2nd Chronicles. And then you have Job, was probably written by a guy named Elihu, and it was, historically probably the oldest book of the Bible, even though it doesn't cover the oldest time period.
Okay.
It probably came around the time of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, is when that book was probably the oldest book in the Bible written. The information contained in Genesis is the oldest information, but it wasn't compiled until like 1,500 years before Christ, about 1,000 years after Abraham.
Got it.
Something like that. A good while. I have a little timeline that helps me out with these things. So, and then I could tell you David wrote the Psalms, and Solomon wrote Proverbs and Ecclesiastes, and then eventually a guy named Ezra came along, and a bunch of major prophets, minor prophets, and then a guy named Ezra came along and compiled them all into what the Jews call the Tanakh, the Torah and Nevi'im, the Ketuvim, and then the Jews call that's their Bible. Christians call that the Old Testament. Catholics add a few books to it, and then there's 27 books in the New Testament, which I think there's general agreement on, but then there's some what people call like the Gnostic Gospels. There's the so-called Gospel of Thomas. You won't find that in a Bible, but some people think it should be scriptural, and you will find more and more people quoting from books like that, thinking that they should be scriptural. So, I think this is another one of those things that if you have the answer on where the Bible came from, here's my thing. On Facebook, if you look on Facebook, if you look on social media, there's these advertisements to buy jewelry that have the entire Bible, like this Bible,
Yeah.
all inscribed. You okay?
Yeah.
All inscribed on a piece of jewelry. The entire Bible, all inscribed on a little tiny piece of jewelry. It's very microscopic. You can't read it with the naked eye. It's so small you can't even read it with a magnifying glass. You'd have to have a computer, like an electron microscope, to actually read the thing. So you can't really read the thing, but people feel good because they have the scripture. They have the Bible. And I think the exact same thing is going on with the version that people can read. They feel good because they feel like they have the truth, right? But what good does having the truth do if it doesn't transform you into being a person who's more like the main subject of the Bible, which is Jesus Christ?
Yeah.
What good is that? So if the people who claim to have the truth are mean as nails, and they are horrible to each other, and they're hypocrites, and they're kicking each other out of their churches, and they're stabbing each other in the back, and talking bad about each other behind their back, stuff like that.
And we're wondering, like, what does that, so everybody's, like, fighting over all this, and, like,
That's a good point. That's right.
everybody's fighing over it.
Having the truth causes fighting.
Yes, so
1 Corinthians 2
everybody
and 3.
thinks they have the truth. Really, they don't have the truth. They're trying to convince people that that is the truth, but it's not really the truth.
Right.
And
So if you make a claim on I have the truth,
then another person might have a different truth, and you guys will fight over it. And what if you guys are friends? That separates people too.
that's right. It separates
So-
people.
Imagine your best friend. Imagine if you're, I don't know, like a. So you're a Christian, right?
Yes.
And then he's a Calvinist.
Okay. Calvinists would call themselves Christians too, even
Yes,
though
and all that.
we have very serious disagreements.
And then you guys have disagreements, and you're fighting over that. And if this were to happen, if it was someone else as you, they would probably they'll fight over it for a long time,
Mm-hmm.
and basically almost every time they see each other, I mean, like, they would, if someone brought it up, they would fight over it, and all they probably think was that.
So let me tell you what I think I hear in your question. You're asking me where does the Bible come from, who compiled it, all this kind of stuff. Would you tell me if this is fair? Is this a fair re-rendering of that question? How do we know when and if we have truth?
We don't know. We never
Is that basically the question?
Well, the new question that, if we were to move on to the next question, but I want to, we have.
Well, I mean, like conversationally, does that make sense to you? Because I tell you what, I'm emphasizing the word "have" on purpose, because one of the things we do on this channel is we get the difference between having mode and being mode. You see?
So if you have the truth on something, like the truth on math is easy. Like, you won't argue about that unless like there's.
Oh, they will.
Yeah, people will. And
Maybe not about arithmetic, but when it comes to theorems and theories of everything that are proven mathematically, there's lots of disagreements.
Yeah,
about
but like
those kinds
I'm
of
talking
things.
about like math equations and all that.
Okay.
There's always an
So
answer.
the lower maths.
So yeah, and once you find the answer, no argument. But like, in like stuff where there's an unclear truth,
Mhm.
where there's multiple paths, where there could be this
Mhm.
different truths. Really, we all start in the same place and end up in different places in the truth.
Interesting.
And all those truths. So 8 billion people on the planet, right? 8
Okay.
billion people. all those people start at the same place. let's say half of them don't believe in God.
Okay.
4 billion people. All those 4 billion people start at the same place because they believe in God.
Okay.
But then they spread apart in different areas.
So that they diverge.
They diverge, and then there's disagreements, and then that 4 billion splits up into little bitty pieces across everywhere. Like there's a section right there, there, and there's like 2 million right there, 4 million right there. There's 100 million right there, and all that, and there's no right or wrong. You need to.
There's no final arbiter of right and wrong.
There's no truth in this situation.
Okay.
There's no real truth. You never know the truth.
Okay.
If you're really gonna if you know the truth for sure, you still don't know the truth because there's other truths. Because there's other
things you don't know.
There's other things that you don't know in life. And the real person that really has all the truth is Jesus or God.
What makes you say that?
Well, that's not really the case, but it kind of is. So God, he was there, and he knows what's going to happen. He knows if it's like Calvinist, Catholic, or if
none of the above.
None of the above. And he knows that. He knows what's going to happen when we're gone. And the only really way we're going to know, the only really way that you're going to have the truth, the viewers are going to have the truth, is when they die.
So, what if there was a proximal type of truth that is more apprehendable?
What do you mean by that?
That's a good question. So, instead of trying to say things that are true or have things that are true, what if I measure instead what is my procedural power to do things?
Power.
Okay? Like don't worry about those questions yet. I want to talk you through something real quick. I'm going to give you 3 things to think about. What is my procedural power to do things? Like, how well can I throw a baseball? How well can I pass a law through Congress? How well can I build a house? Okay? What is my capacity for power to do a thing how well can I clean my room?
So,
hold on, I got 2 more things.
Okay.
Then, since I don't know everything and can't be everywhere, not only how well can I do something, how much power do I have to do something, but what is the perspective from which I do it? Because since I don't know everything, I'm looking at you from my perspective, you're looking at me from your perspective, and so I'm going to see all the power that I have to do things through the limited perspective that I'm afforded, because I can only see from where I am at any given time. And this is where I am, this is what it's like to be me. So then there's perspective, and then there is based on what you can see from where you are, and based on what you can do and how much power you can do, how should I participate in the world around me? How should I participate with other people? How should I participate in the world around me? So, if I'm taking the Bible, instead of having it as true, instead of saying that it's true, maybe I can extract from it that which I need to be more procedurally competent, procedurally powerful, more perspectively aware, and more participatorily attuned. So if I'm a student in a classroom, I have the power to make an A on my spelling test. I have the perspective of being a student because I'm not the teacher and I'm not the other student and I'm not the janitor. I'm a student in this desk.
You have the power to get an A, but
and I'm participating in the school experience as a student in this classroom with this teacher in this subject. You see?
You have the power to get an A, but how do you get an A?
You have to procedure. Yeah. So you have to study from your perspective. You have to do things. You have to go through the process, that's a procedure of reviewing the information that you need to know in order to get an A. So instead of claiming to have the truth or to know what the truth is, I have 3 areas that I can work on: procedure, perspective, and participation, that give me a landscape by which I can measure the usefulness of what I think I know. Does that make sense?
Yes. And the question that we were focusing on the evidence, right?
Mm-hmm.
So the evidence all leads up to the truth. The truth is the evidence, right? That's at least that's what we think, but not really.
So what if we measure truth by the 3 things that I just gave you? Okay? So what if asking about truth is the wrong question? So let me ask you.
The truth is the wrong question.
So what if I'm doing this? Who is the best basketball player? Excuse me.
If you looked it up right now, I remember we went to like a restaurant, and it said Kevin Durant.
Okay. So how do you measure that? Do you measure that by truth claims?
Well, I mean, that's how most people, they just look it up on.
Well,
nowadays.
But how is that measured? If Kevin Durant is the best basketball player, do you think that they're measuring how, like, whether or not he believes a book somewhere, or do you think that they're measuring his participation on the basketball court? The number of points he has the procedure and power to score, the number of rebounds he can get, the number of assists.
The number of, like, it's probably, so, it's probably, if they were to look, they might have put LeBron James on there, and Kevin Durant's team won against LeBron's, but it might have just been like he shot more. He has the capability. He has the capability, the power
procedure
to shoot the ball when no one gets the ball from him.
Exactly.
And he has I don't really know that much information about Kevin Durant.
Yeah, so think about this in life. In life, if I'm trying to be the best Kevin I can be and you're trying to be the best Shaun you can be, are we doing it in the way that we would compare Kevin Durant and James LeBron? Or are we doing it in terms of whose truth claims are the most valid? Because having truth claims doesn't make either one of those guys a better basketball player.
No, it does. It doesn't. But, like, if you were trying to, if you didn't have that, how would you know who was better? People, they will do anything really to get the truth. Kind of.
You think so?
Well, certain people, like, if they want to know the truth, if they're desperate, let's just say desperate.
Okay.
So let's say if you're really desperate, like you just watch something and you want to fact check it or something,
Mm-hmm.
you want to see other opinions and all that, you would go over and all that, and go clickety-clackety on your computer and look and start looking it up, or on your phone and Google it and all that. You would start typing in it and trying to get the truth. And once you get the truth, really all the truth does is just like, you know that, and you have the power to. You also have the power to look it up, so that's what you would do.
So I look it up, I get some kind of answer that satisfies me.
Yes.
And then how am I better now?
You're not.
What if I just use that information to attack somebody who thinks something different?
Well, the only really, let's say this. So if you're having a presentation to get a job, so let's say you're trying to get a new job.
Okay.
And you have to go to an office
Okay.
and work there,
Okay.
and you have to do all this stuff. But you have to your boss says you have to take a slideshow before you have to make a slideshow about all the evidence and what this place does and your experience.
Okay.
And so you have to go over there and get and you have to go home. You have to go home or just laptop and sit in your car or something. And you have to get the evidence, the truth, and
Of that company.
yes,
And put it together in a slideshow.
and
Come back and present it to somebody.
yes, and if you didn't have the truth, then you wouldn't get the job.
Okay.
So that really, situations like that is really what the truth can help you. But there is some cases where they can help you be a better person. But I'm thinking about that right now. Like, how can truth help you be a better person?
So a lot of times thinking that when people think that they have the truth, they're really unaware of how much they don't know. And to have the truth is not really something like, if I'm comparing Kevin Durant and James LeBron, I'm not thinking about whether they have the truth. I'm thinking about whether they can do something, you see? So I think that my problem with Christianity and historically Christianity, I think that we took a wrong turn somewhere in the past, a few hundred years ago, where we started to orient ourselves toward having truth instead of being oriented toward transforming.
So that's basically like evolving your mind.
Mm-hmm.
So
yeah, right.
If anybody here has Pokemon is a good example.
Okay.
So Eevee, he has 10 different evolutions of himself, I think.
Okay.
He has water, he has fire and all that. He can change himself, transform himself
Yes.
into the better version of himself.
Yes.
He can evolve.
Yes.
He can also do it at certain moments in time when it's needed.
Yes. That's very interesting. So it makes sense. Yeah. So I mean, the Bible says, you said evolve your mind, something like that. He said, Paul in the book of Romans says, be transformed by the renewing of your mind, which to me sounds very similar. And you're given this example of a Pokemon character who has
the
Eevee,
power to evolve himself to
10 different levels of evolution.
Yes, and he can also go back to a different formation where it's needed.
So
all that.
Is he capable of that transformation because of the kind of creature he is, or because of something he knows?
It's the type of thing he is, but he has to know when to transform.
That's participatory attunement.
So
when do I do this?
So,
like, I know how to transform, procedural knowing. Then I know when to transform. That's when is it proper for me to participate in the arena in this way?
So really, whenever Flareon, usually Pokemon battles, right?
Mm-hmm.
When Flareon, so Eevee is Flareon with just fire.
Okay.
And he's up against a water thing. His weakness is water.
Okay.
So if he didn't know when to transform, he would just stay at that fire and lose the whole battle.
Yes.
Because that's his weakness. But
so he has to be adaptive to a dynamic environment.
Yeah, so he has to adapt.
Yes.
If he doesn't adapt, you might as well just give up because there's
Yeah, absolutely. What about this? What if you're okay? I'm 44. Let's say you're 44 years old and you meet some insurmountable challenge that happens to be your weakness. Do you adapt, or do you just stick to some beliefs that you have in having mode?
You have to adapt.
You have to adapt. That's such a great lesson that I wish I knew when I was 10. I'll tell you that. That's great to know. That's great to know at 10.
Pokemon for the win.
Yeah. There's lessons. So you can learn lessons like that from everything. So once you could say that, like, okay, the Bible has all the truth and I need to get all the truth, but what you just demonstrated to me is that you were able to look at Pokemon
As
and
an example.
extract something from that you can use for how you can be a more adaptive person.
And with other Pokemon, they evolve too. Like, so let's have an example of Charizard. This is a great example, actually. So it goes. We all start at the same place, right? It goes and somewhere we split up. So we go. It goes
Okay.
Charmander, Charmeleon, and then Charizard, and then it goes Mega Charizard, and then a different version of Mega Charizard.
Okay.
Blue and red, XY.
Okay.
That's both them. But they both split up into different. Just like how the 4 billion people split up in their beliefs.
Okay. So what if it's like this though? So instead of splitting up in your beliefs, what was this character's name? Charizard?
But Charizard, and instead of splitting up in beliefs, he split up in transformation.
Okay. So let's say that when you're 32, you need to be able to do something that Eevee can do.
Yeah.
But then when you're 38, you need to be able to do something that Charizard can do.
Yeah.
You see what I'm saying?
Yes.
So what you have with the Pokemon lore, which I'm admittedly not extremely familiar with, you have a wealth of examples and scenarios that are played out that you can pick from for the story that matches what you need to be and do in your life. Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm.
And so you're admittedly not very familiar with the Bible. I'm admittedly not very familiar with Pokemon, but I will bet you that whatever there is to learn about Pokemon and the Bible, there is a complex pattern replicator, like an abstract pattern replicator, at which point they both converge on the same things. You could say that the Apostle Paul is kind of like a Pokemon, because he starts off as a bad guy who's killing Christians, but he's super religious, and he's following all these rules.
That's kind of like, so there is.
But then he transforms into a good guy who is not killing Christians, who is now preaching charity, a whole chapter on love. And instead of killing Christians, instead of being a rule follower, he's saying all things are lawful for me, but not all things are expedient. So he's completely transformed and adapted. So he's kind of like a Pokemon.
Yeah. And so other Pokemon, really, they just evolve. Some, like Snorlax, he evolves from an Edilax, which Edilax like this big, like cute and cuddly and all that. Snorlaxes are 6 feet, or at least 6 feet tall, if not 5 feet.
So I'm like a Snorlax then.
Yeah. And but they're really fat.
Yeah, I'm like a Snorlax then.
They're really fat and they always sleep because it's in the name.
So, all right. I think we've established. So what I'm trying to say is that when you can see the pattern of truth, when you can see the pattern of procedural, perspectival, and participatory appropriateness.
Yeah, so
you can pick it up from anywhere.
With transforming, some people only transform twice. Or they transform a lot of times.
Or none.
Or none. Like, that's Pokemon, for me, that's a good example, because Flareon, 10 versions, Snorlax, like, I think it's 2, I think. Correct me if I'm wrong. And for a bunch of common Pokemon, it's really just 1.
I'm going to have to look in the chat to see how wrong you are.
Yeah, I'm probably...
about Pokemon, because I can't check you on this.
Yeah, I can't. Okay, here, let's see.
So, no. So, yeah, let's not. So, yeah, we got one of the guys who is in the chat, right? He actually has played the Zelda a lot, and he's really excited about the new Zelda game on Switch, and thinks that there's a lot of transformational data in Zelda that we're going to be looking at soon. I've got a video that I'm working on for the Avatar movie.
Oh.
I have the slides already done. Well, I have a lot of the slides done to where we can look at that and we can see biblical transformation trope in this movie. I got the same thing coming up for Little Mermaid. I've already done one for the Black Panther. I've already done one for World War Z.
So, do you want to move on to the next question?
Yeah.
Okay. Okay, so what is Jesus' goal and what is Satan's goal? And what is the difference between them?
What is Jesus' goal? And what is Satan's goal? What is the difference between them? Now, do you want... can I play with your question a little bit?
Yeah.
Instead of just answering it, can I play with it?
Yeah.
Think of Shaun 15 years from now. I mean, you're 15 years old. 5 years from now. You're 10 now. So you're 15 years old. Can you think of the best version of Shaun at 15 that can possibly exist? Let me give you some examples, some metrics to work with here. Like, how is 15-year-old Shaun in school? How is he with his parents? How is he helping around the house? How is he with girls? How is he as a drummer? How is he as a guitar player?
I'm not that interested.
How is he as a student? How is he at football? You see?
Oh.
Think about all those things. So think about the best version of Shaun there could be at 15 years old. And think about just those metrics right there. Now think of the worst version of Shaun 5 years from now.
Okay.
If everything goes wrong,
Yeah, I can think of that.
why would it go wrong?
I can think of that.
Okay.
Can I? I'm
Yeah.
gonna say so I could be like kicked out of the house because I did something wrong. I could be on drugs, doing cocaine, vaping, and
Vaping and cocaine.
and
those
I
are
don't have a
exactly
job
alike.
because I don't want to do anything. I'm like, I want to do the dishes. You do the dishes. This is not part of my job. My job is a waiter. I'm not gonna do that. And then
Okay.
and then they end up getting fired. And then I'm on a tent with no school because I got kicked out of the house. And then I end up trying to go to a public school, but then I get expelled because I'm vaping in the bathroom, and people caught me. That's a very bad situation. Can you
Okay.
think of a worse situation?
I can, but we can work with that. So, what got bad Shaun there?
So, what bad Shaun did right there, he probably did something that's really bad and got kicked out of the house.
Yeah, but why did he do the bad thing? Think about
because he
motivations and emotions.
Yes. So his friend, so let's see, his friend, they might have done like a few stupid things in the past, and then just like one night, I went to my friend's house. I'm not actually gonna do this stuff. I went to my friend's house, and then we got drunk, even though we're not allowed to because it's illegal. Then I went to my house, drunk driving there, and almost crashed into the house. And then I walked out of there, walking all like
Sounds
this.
like you're telling a story where you're not the player. Anyway, go ahead.
And then I walked into the house, and I'm like, I have like a bad mood. Like I just thought of that like one bad thing that my sister did. I'm like, and I go in there because I'm drunk and I'm 15 years old and I don't have my driver's license, so I'm driving illegal to my house. So then I walk into the house and I think of that bad memory of my sister being mean. I'm like, and then I go in there with, let's say, a metal water bottle, and it's
A metal water bottle, okay.
and it's in the middle of the night, and I start beating her up. Let's just say that.
Sounds bad.
Yeah, and then my sister wakes up and tries to defend herself, and she calls 911, and I'm escorted to jail, and then my friend rats me out and pays for the fine. He drives me back home. Then my mom or dad, depending on stuff.
Yeah.
It she or he says, get out of my house. I don't want you here again. Your sister is in a hospital right now, and you broke her back or something, or her arm, or her leg or something, her foot. I don't know, but like, and then she kicks me out of the house, and then I get unenrolled in school, or I'm not in school anymore, and then yeah.
Okay, so that's good enough. So let me tell you kind of what I'm hearing here.
What?
I'm hearing that you have an attachment to a friend group that is not exactly a good influence.
Well, that all depends on what happens.
Well, just based on the story you just told me.
Well, that's probably not going to happen because I know that's not going to happen.
No, I know
I'm not going to get drunk.
No, I know that, but we're talking about Bad Shaun here, 15-year-old Bad Shaun. The way you started the story, you're with some friends, and it sounds like you're doing something together that it doesn't have very good judgment.
Yeah.
So it sounds like you have an attachment to that friend group more so than you have good judgment about your own future.
Yeah.
So I'm going to connect a couple things for you here, okay? At the same time, you are resentful in this story. In the story, you're resentful about something your sister did.
Because I'm drunk. And I'm like...
Well, but you had something... So they say that a drunk person's actions and words are a sober person's thoughts. Okay? So if you're upset about something when you're drunk, it's possibly that you're resentful. So what I'm trying to get at is that attachment to a not good thing plus resentment coming together and anger, that those things cause you to participate in reality in a way that is not in your best interest. And so let's take your question. If you think of the devil, you might think of this, cherub that God created before creation, and then he rebelled and wound up tempting, and da-da-da-da. You have this creature, red horns, pitchfork, however you want to imagine the devil.
I imagine him as a black fish spinner with the frowny faces.
But in the cosmos of your head, because every person's soul is as unexplored as the night sky, in the cosmos of your head, the little devil running around up there looks like attachment, resentment, and anger, and fear. That's what it looks like. That's the coalescence of the persona of the devil in your head, is those things. And then the good Shaun, that's the star of the football team and has a nice girl that likes him and is doing well in school and has a good relationship with his father and mother and sister and is not in the hospital or whatever, any of that stuff. Okay? You could say that there is something, the better you, that's drawing you to be the better you. Because right now you're looking to the good 15-year-old Shaun, and that is going to draw you to become that. So as far as you're concerned, you don't have any historic proof of Christ that you can touch with your fingertips, but you have behavioral proof of Christ in your future Shaun that's good, that draws you to be more like that. And then you have a devil also, that is, the parts that make up that devil are attachment, fear, anger, and resentment. And those things cause you to skew reality in a way that gets you to participate in reality in a way that is a terminating game, that is not very good for you. Be gratifying in the short term, but not very helpful in the long term. So while we could talk about what is the goal of Jesus and what is the goal of Satan, we could speculate about that all day long, but really for the individual, what really matters is those two entities in your head, and like a Pokemon that can diverge in its transformation.
Yeah, like Charizard.
Like Charizard. You have a quantum superposition right now where here you are, and there is good Shaun and there is bad Shaun. 15-year-old good Shaun, 15-year-old bad Shaun. And you are both of them until you make the decisions that lead you to one of them. You see? So as far as phenomenologically, in my opinion, it's more helpful to understand the Jesus and the Satan that is in you. It's more important to understand that and how it affects you than it is to have the right answers about metaphysical, historic Jesus and Satan. Even though those aren't bad to know. It's not wrong to know that. But what we really want to do with that information is internalize it and find out where that is in the cosmos of our head. Because everything's fractal. Whatever has happened in the universe is also happening in the cosmos of each individual mind. There was a war in heaven, and Satan ran off with a third of the angels that followed him. That's in your head. That's in my head. And we have to suss that out for the good Shaun and the bad Shaun that's 5 years from now. Practically. So what's the goal of good Shaun? So your question then practically, like what's the goal of Jesus? What's the goal of Satan? What's the goal of good Shaun? And what's the goal of bad Shaun? Rewind 5 years from 15-year-old back to now. What are their goals?
The goal of bad Shaun is... I feel like the goal of bad Shaun, if he were to be... So, let's say they split apart, right?
Mm-hmm.
If bad Shaun were to encounter good Shaun again,
Mm-hmm.
he would try to fix everything that he has done. He would try... I mean, he can't undo the pain and all that. He would try to heal himself mentally.
Bad Shaun would?
Well, only if he encountered good Shaun. But if he didn't, he would just carry on living homeless and probably a tent on the side of the street.
Here's the problem, though. Resentment. In the Bible, the devil's called the father of lies. Resentment causes a person to not be able to perceive reality correctly. So if bad Shaun, 15 years from now, or at 15-year-old, 5 years from now, is eaten up with resentment, he won't be able to see good Shaun. He won't be able to see that if he's eaten up with resentment. Like literally cannot perceive reality as it is.
You know that horror movie we watched earlier? Like the ghost one?
The Sixth Sense?
Yeah.
By the way, for those of you, we watched The Sixth Sense not long ago.
Yeah.
Spoiler alert.
So,
it's an older movie, so everyone should have seen it by now.
So it kind of this comparison kind of crosses over with the first one and the second one. So he's so full up with truth that he doesn't know that he's dead.
Spoiler alert.
I'm sorry, but yeah.
Yeah, true.
So instead of resentfulness, it's truth.
Oh.
So he thinks it's true that he's alive, but then one day he realizes everything and realizes that he's actually dead. And he's just a ghost. Do you see where I'm written here?
Yeah. So thinking that you have the truth can
blind you.
Can blind you. Oh my gosh.
Can blind you of what you can see in the future, of what you can see ahead of you.
Yes, that's right. That's absolutely right.
You're blind of the truth. You're blind of the truth, but really, you don't see the truth.
You don't see the truth. That's right.
And
you think you have the truth, and because you think you have it, you can't see it.
And he thinks his wife is cheating on him, which is hate.
Ah, yeah.
Which he thinks that she's ignoring him because he's not showing up to anywhere. or he's not showing up to anymore, and he's angry because she won't listen,
Right,
and
right.
she's taking depression
Medicine, yeah.
medicine,
Medicine.
and he's getting and he's not like mad. He's like he's suspicious of his wife hanging out with this guy.
Yeah.
So much. Came into the house.
So it could make a person angry,
Yes.
resentful.
And they're blind of everything that they have. It's like one big pyramid. So imagine you're in this one big pyramid. On the very top block is truth.
Mm-hmm.
Every single other block of that is what is your emotions.
Okay.
And then inside is you.
Okay.
It's a hollow thing with, so let's say the room that you're in is about this big and everywhere else is your emotions.
Okay.
Your blocks. You're stuck in this room and all you can see are those emotions.
Ah.
You can only see those
Yes.
emotions.
Yes.
That's all you see. And that's all you think is true.
Yes.
That's all you think is true. That's all that you're feeling.
Wow.
But really, if you look outside of the pyramid, you get your pickaxe and you start banging that pyramid.
Get through those emotional blocks.
Yes, and you go outside, you suddenly see the top block still standing there, and reality unfolds.
Wow.
Reality unfolds.
That's pretty powerful. I think you stumbled across something very powerful. A couple things there where thinking that you have the truth can blind you to reality. And then you can be surrounded in a glass case of emotion that also blinds you from reality, and you have to find a way to break out of that in order to perceive reality as it is. That's profound. That's amazing. I don't think I would have seen to word things that way, and that's worth like just pausing to think about.
Once you're out there, you know the truth now, but that comes again. Now what do you do with that?
Exactly. What do you do with that? So then that question, what is mine to do? What is the proper participation based on what I know, perceive, and can do? What is that? And so it seems that having truth, thinking that you have truth, is typically a delusion. You really don't have it because you can only apprehend so much. Even if you did have the proverbial truth, you could only apprehend so much of it.
Yeah. And plus, what are you going to do with that truth? We just got a $20 donation.
Somebody just thanks Monique for the $20 super chat. Thank you very much for that. That is very kind of you. Wow. So, I think what you just uncovered there is very profound. I'm glad we captured that so we can go back and watch it because I want to see that unfold again just as it did. Where do you want to go from here? You want to so you started that off asking for, what's Jesus' goal, what's Satan's goal, and then the conversation led to that realization, which you just said. I didn't tell you. So you started with a question, and you wound up telling me something that I hadn't quite figured out yet.
I taught my dad something for the first time.
So you see how that works, though? So here's how this could have played out. I could have given you an answer, and I could have said, Jesus' goal is to save everyone, and Satan's goal is to blind the minds of those that don't believe, lest the glorious light of the gospel of Christ should shine unto them. Next question. I could have done that, and then none of that would have happened.
Yes.
You see?
Yeah. But then I knew you,
Well, for the sake of the audience, I want to point this out. For the sake of the audience, I want to point out that questions are not designed to be closed off with answers, because there is something latent underneath the question that is waiting to come alive if you will work with it and allow it to. And it is not the answer. The answer to the question is really not what you're seeking. What just happened right there is the reason to have dialogue.
That's what you're seeking, probably.
What? Everyone's looking at you. You point at them, they're going to get upset. I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding. They're not going to get upset.
Oh, mind of Christ. Who said that?
The mind of Christ.
Rory K.
So here's what I would suggest to you. Okay. I think we just had two truths just came out of you, and that is thinking that you have truth blinds you to reality, and you can be surrounded by emotions in a way that also blinds you to reality. You have to get outside of those to be able to perceive reality as it is. Okay.
You know what I try to do.
So pause. I want to make my point. I want to finish making my point. Those two truths that just came out of your mouth, that's the Word of God. You see?
Mm-hmm.
So if you look at if you're asking about where's the Word of God, who inspired the Word of God, is it in a book like this? If I'm rightly dividing the word of truth, the Word of God, I just heard it right there. It's not something just contained in a book put away somewhere. It's something that manifests through the tendrils of those who are in the image of God live, in real time. Does that make sense?
Yes.
So when people ask about truth that they want to have, I am more interested in getting them to be exposed to real-time truth that emerges in dialogue. You see, and to be able to participate in a way that generates that.
If I were to explain this to like some of my friends, they wouldn't. I tried it before, so, like as you explain it. So like, but they're not at that level. They're not at the they're not at that level of understanding. So
right.
So if you understand this in the audience, then you're at that level. You know that.
Everybody can take something that is appropriate for where they are.
Yeah.
I don't want to start getting arrogant about being at any particular level that nobody else is at. That's not really what it's about.
Yeah, but like you know that you're not at that little kid level, the little 4th grade level, which
right.
I'm higher.
So we started 11. It's 12:19. Do you want to keep talking, or do you want to do another question, or
I want to keep talking to another question, but I really need to use the can.
You really need to use the can?
Yeah.
That bad? Well, let's do this. I think the thing that you just uncovered is good enough to pause on, and we've been going for over an hour, and maybe we can do another live session with some of the other questions later.
Okay. What time do we have to leave?
Yeah, we got that coming up too. We're gonna have to leave here in a little bit too. So how about we do that? So let's go ahead.
So next time
wrap up.
Next time I come here, we'll do this again too, right?
Yeah. So let us know in the chat if you would like to see more conversations with Lil Kev, with Shaun, with Burnoff 12. If you want to see more of these conversations, let us know in the chat.
Pull up the slide again.
Oh yeah, that's pull up the slide again. Got this mouse pad over here is the one I need to use. This is Burnoff 12. If you want to check out his channel, now have a seat. Now his channel is not exactly like mine. We cover different kinds of content, but it's still fun. He's very creative. All right. I'm good with ending here. Any last thing you would like to say to the audience before we go?
I hope this video actually helped you. I know this video actually helped me. It's something about not just being within the audience. It's something about being there that kind of helps you a little bit more.
I think that's well said.
And I hope this transformed you a little bit. I don't know. And I hope you guys have a good day. Please subscribe to my channel. I only have 82 subs.
There's the shout out.
I really,
call out.
I really need some subs.
Let's see if we can get them over 100. Anyway.
Yeah.
All right. If you like the content that you're getting on this channel, somebody's touching me on the back of the neck.
That's my sister.
There's Genevieve.
Imposter among us. It's an imposter among us.
All right. You want to say hi? Okay. She's already gone. All right, guys. It's been fun. We will see you next time at Beyond the Fundamentals. Thanks for watching. May the Lord bless you and good day.
Good day to you.